What's up, Doc? I'm Pugs Bunny, and we're going to go through the final volume of the new history of the DCU. It's been a fun ride, and if you haven't yet, go check out the first 3 parts so you know what's going on. After we go through this final volume, I'm going to go through a few things I got wrong that you beautiful creatures pointed out. Very politely, may I add. Well, enough dilly-dally, let's just hop into it. History by Barry Allen, Book 4. An ancient prophecy from the Guardian's Book of Oa finally came to pass. Necron and his earthly agent, Black Hand, teamed up to plunge all existence into darkness. Black Hand, the physical embodiment of death, led a team of the undead, the Black Lantern Corps, against an army of heroes. Solely by using the power of the entire emotional spectrum to create the White Lantern Corps was their evil vanquished. As a result of their efforts, we witnessed the blessed return of many fallen figures, Hawkman and Hawkwoman, Firestorm, Hawk, and Maxwell Lord, as well as Aquaman and Martian Manhunter, who had only recently perished in their own battles with evil. On a less cosmic playing field, the defenders of Gotham were struggling in the absence of a Batman they believed dead. Ultimately, Nightwing battled Red Hood for the Dark Knight's cowl and won, accepting Damian Wayne as his Robin until Batman eventually returned from his voyage through time. And then, reality took a major shift. By pulling the entire Speed Force inside me, I succeeded in a desperate, hubristic gamble to change history to undo my mother's murder, and in doing so, made the most horrific mistake imaginable. The shocking ripple effects of this historical flashpoint, and my subsequent attempt to reverse the damage, rewriting nearly every corner of reality. Close allies were total strangers, imposters attempted to replace us, and entire legacies were forgotten. The world I eventually returned to was cosmically unstable, old history intertwined with new, and no one was the wiser, including, at the time, myself. No one from this universe, that is. Not all changes, however, were costly. Barbara Gordon was able to resume her career as Batgirl. A sorcery-focused Justice League Dark formed, uniting John Constantine, Zatanna, Madame Xanadu, Deadman, Shade the Changing Man, and eventually most of the magical heroes. A Suicide Squad was once more drafted by Amanda Waller, this time with a lineup consisting of Harley Quinn, Deadshot, El Diablo, King Shark, Black Spider, and more. The Bat family learned a dark secret about Gotham. A clandestine organization of its most powerful families, the Court of Owls, aided by their near-immortal assassins, the Talons, had for decades been using their social influence to manipulate people and events, including the Waynes. Estranged from his former friends, Red Hood formed his own team of outlaws, including Starfire, a bizarro Superman, Artemis, and Roy Harper, Arsenal once more, who had ceded the name Red Arrow to crime fighter Emiko Queen, Green Arrow's half-sister and daughter of the assassin Shadow. The discovery of an alternative universe mother box from New Genesis led to an all-out assault from the latest incarnation of Earth 3's crime syndicate. This clash, we were unsure we would survive. The world was jolted into turmoil under their rule, especially once the syndicate took all the heroes off the board and conscripted nearly every one of our arch enemies. Luckily, the unlikely alliance of Lex Luthor, Captain Cold, Bizarro, and Black Manta beat the syndicate rather than bow before them. After the melee, a young woman named Jessica Cruz was possessed by the ring of the syndicate's Hal Jordan counterpart. With Batman's help, she was able to shed its evil influence. After which, the Green Lanterns awarded Jessica her own ring and welcomed her into the Corps, where she soon partnered with another recent recruit, Michigan mechanic Simon Baz. During the crime syndicate siege, Nightwing's identity as Dick Grayson was revealed to all. Choosing to fake his death rather than remain public, Grayson temporarily joined the spy organization Spiral as Agent 37 until their satellites erased the earlier identity revelation. Wallace Daniel Ace West, Iris West's youngest nephew, was gifted unstable super speed by his future self that was later cemented by a Speed Force storm caused by an enemy of mine. I took him under my wing, and he became the new Kid Flash. As Batwing, Congolese police officer, David Zavimbe was a member of Batman Incorporated, a worldwide team of crime busters financed by Bruce Wayne. Zavimbe later turned the name and costume over to Luke Fox, son of Lucius Fox, one of Wayne's most trusted advisors. Gotham City was well protected at night, but who watched over it during the daylight hours? Duke Thomas and the group We Are Robin, young vigilantes endeavoring to reclaim Gotham after a near takeover by the Joker. In recognition of his efforts, Batman then trained Duke personally. Any fears the Dark Knight might have had for the young man's safety were later allayed when his hidden meta-human power to manipulate light and shadow emerged, making him the Signal. Allah Nassauer was an Egyptian American chosen by the cat goddess Besit to bear the legendary Helm of Fate, replacing Kent Nelson for a short time before eventually fully assuming his role as the new Dr. Fate. Prior to that, however, Grell, born of a union between Darkseid and the Amazonian assassin Irina the Black, assumed her destiny to become the anti-god who would someday slay her father. To that end, she summoned the Anti-Monitor to our world, orchestrating a reality-shaking war between the Anti-Monitor and a resurrected Darkseid under her control. In the end, Wonder Woman and Marina worked together to convince Grail to end the war by once more slaying Darkseid. Reality shaking. I'm not being hyperbolic. Ever since the Great Crisis, I had always had the nagging sensation that our universe was to some degree rebuilt on shifting sand. Histories, events, even memories would sometimes fluctuate without our realizing it. Little did we know, there was an actual agent attached to these changes, one apparently frustrated by reality's instability, and one compelled to reset it once more in the wake of Darkseid's defeat. That reset began with a bolt of lightning and a crack of thunder as the forgotten Wally West appeared, heralding a wave of energy that undid many of the changes brought about by the flashpoint. Multiple histories and legacies were restored, allowing Wally to regather his friends to establish a new Titans team. And certain contradictions of our past were forgotten by all, including inconsistencies in the origins of Wonder Woman, Superman, the Atom, Ryan Choi, and others. It's pretty convenient. That renewed energy likewise foreshadowed a new wave of heroes and villains. Jackson Hyde, son of Black Manta and Zabellian rebel Lucia, rejected his villainous heritage to become the new Aqualad and eventually the newest Aquaman. The Justice League of China was formed. Batman, Wonder Woman, Dragon Son, Rainbot, The Flash, Avery Ho, and Superman, Kong Kenan. August Hart, a former detective of mine, became the malevolent speeder Godspeed as a result of the same Speed Force storm that energized Kid Flash, Wallace West. And young John Kent debuted to the public as the newest Superboy. He and his best friend Robin, Damian Wayne, battled evil as the Super Sons. Through exposure to 5 divine metals, Electrum, Dionysium, Promethium, Imp Metal, Batmanium, Batman had unintentionally opened a door to the dark multiverse, a sick mirror image of our own multiverse populated with the worst fears, anxiety, and outcomes of all creation. It's just a bunch of evil Batmans. The Batman who laughs, the Bruce Wayne of its Earth 22, emerged as the lieutenant of the Dark God Barbados. His army of Dark Knights laid waste to our planet while literally drawing it into the dark multiverse. In the end, the League defeated Barbados and his lackeys by accessing the power of the 10th metal. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were able to return to Earth to it. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman were able to return Earth to its proper place, which restored even more history, but inadvertently shattered the source wall that surrounds the multiverse, which would have major consequences. During the events of the Barbados conflict, Kendra Saunders re-emerged as Hawkgirl, sharing memories and more with the still existing original Hawkman. Mr. Terrific brought Metamorpho, Plastic Man, and Phantom Girl together as the Terrifics. An exposure to a rift into the dark multiverse turned teenager Derek James into the teleporting Sideways. Following an incursion by the Omega Titans from beyond the Source Wall, the Justice League reorganized into 3 specialized branches. 1. teaming Cyborg, Starfire, Green Lantern, Jessica Cruz, Azrael, a revived Darkseid, and others, concentrated on exploring extraterrestrial realms. The main league, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, John Stewart, myself, Martian Manhunter, Aquaman, Hawkgirl, and others worked from Washington, D.C.'s Hall of Justice to protect Earth. And deep underneath the hall, Justice League Dark and its core membership of Wonder Woman, Detective Chimp, Zatanna, Man-Bat, and Swamp Thing attended to mystic menaces. Another remnant from the Source Wall breach hurtled toward Earth, the Totality, the power core from which the multiverse was originally created. Lex Luthor and his Legion of Doom began unlocking its energies of creation before the Totality was reclaimed by Hawkgirl and sealed inside the Hall of Justice. For a brief moment, the relentless menaces that had been pummeling us had abated. Even the Batman felt some mild sense of relief. How else to explain his proposal of marriage to Catwoman, who, after months of engagement, left him at the altar, another event orchestrated by his enemies. In an attempt to further antagonize Batman, Nightwing was shot in the head by the assassin known as KG Beast. Though he survived, Dick Grayson was temporarily rendered an amnesiac, with no memories of his heroic identity. But then, there was Bruce's father. When Wally returned to our universe, he brought with him a mysterious bloody button of unknown origins. Batman and I investigated its genesis, leading us into battle with both my old enemy, the Reverse Flash, and a foe, new yet familiar, Flashpoint Batman, a Dark Knight remnant from the Flashpoint reality, Bruce's father, Thomas Wayne. Even more significantly, our detective work has led us closer to the enigmatic being who had been rebooting reality for all these years, compelling him to at least make himself known. Dr. Manhattan, a traveler from an alternate universe, was by far the most powerful entity we had ever encountered. A near god who could alter time itself with but a thought. In confronting him, we learned a cosmic truth. He had been altering our past from afar for a great while to observe the resultant effects. The lesson learned was that there is one immutable constant in this universe, and that is hope. Inspired by Superman's unwavering refusal to bow to darkness, Manhattan left our reality, but not without making a few final alterations, erasing the last vestiges of the changes I'd unwittingly triggered. Among them, returning the Justice Society of America to its proper place in history. In the meantime, while we adults were dealing with Manhattan, the immediate fate of the world had been left to the next generation, who stepped up admirably. Damian Wayne created a Titans of his own, teaming Roundhouse, Jen, Kid Flash, Red Arrow, and Lobo's daughter, Crush. Naomi McDuffie, a teenage superhero with energy-based powers, surfaced in Port Oswego, Oregon, and joined the new Young Justice, reconvened by Superboy, Connor Kent, and Impulse to include Robin, Tim Drake, Wonder Girl, Cassie Sandsmark, Amethyst, Jonah Hex descendant Jenny Hex, Teen Lantern, Kelly Quintella, and others. Miguel Montez discovered the power of the H-Dial to transform himself into various heroes. And Zan and Jaina, the Wonder Twins of Exor, began operating in the Washington, D.C. area as interns at the Hall of Justice. In order to finally lay claim to Gotham, Bane instigated a blitzkrieg on Batman City by unleashing his greatest enemies, isolating him from his allies, forcing him into exile, and pitting him against Thomas Wayne. Oh my god, Scarecrow, he actually exists, let's go. Most shockingly of all, Bane murdered Batman's aide, Alfred Pennyworth, in cold blood before Damian's horrified eyes. And during the fight of his life, Batman eventually vanquished Bane before the city all but collapsed. But no matter how sweet that victory, it will never make up for the loss of the men who raised him. In Metropolis, Superman and Lois Lane were speechless when their son, who had, for less than a month, been under the care of a time traveler, purporting to be John's grandfather, Jor-El, return almost grown, having endured years of imprisonment by Ultraman in a dimension where time moved far more rapidly. And in Keystone City, Wally's children, Irie and Jay, eventually joined the Flash family. Today, they are known as Thunderheart and Surge. Meanwhile, the group Leviathan, secretly led by former Manhunter Mark Shaw, systematically destroyed the world's most prominent espionage agencies, including the DEO, Argus, Checkmate, Spiral, and Shade. The hero who rose to this challenge was no leaguer, no titan. It was a reporter, Lois Lane, who assembled a group of the world's sharpest detectives. Joe Mullion, an Earth-born member of the Green Lantern Corps, was assigned to a region so distant from Oa that she refers to it as the Far Sector. In Gotham, a Joker-obsessed woman named Alexis K became the Clown Prince's new partner in crime and romance, Punchline. And in Atlantis, Aquaman and Mara wed and soon welcomed their new daughter, Andrina Andy Curry. The final threat from beyond the Source Wall made herself known after trillions of years of anguish. The goddess Perpetua, freed from her transversal prison at last, set out to restart the multiverse in her image. To this end, she recruited the Batman Who Laughs, who betrayed and re-imprisoned her, having leveled up into the Darkest Night. In the end, a time-spanning clash between Wonder Woman and the Darkest Night embodied the ultimate confrontation between the chaotic Crisis energy and its opposite force, the anti-Crisis energy that links all lives, all stories. To gather power to defeat her enemy, Diana died and traveled through the metaphysical sphere of the gods before returning to life. Diana's victory convinced Perpetua's race, the Hands, to finish the job begun by Dr. Manhattan, stabilizing our universe and reconciling its various histories into a refreshed multiverse, another step toward a consistent timeline. In the streets of Gotham, the Joker finally learned Batman's secret identity, stole the Wayne fortune, and declared war on the city. The Dark Knight was able to reverse the damage, and in the war's aftermath found new allies and enemies. Gotham, the Clown Hunter. Tim Jace Fox, estranged son of Lucius Fox, now the Batman of New York City. Ghostmaker, Miyakoa Koa Khan, a bloodthirsty vigilante trained by the same mentors who taught Batman. Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown, who became the Batgirls, mentored by Barbara Gordon and her Oracle persona. And Cole Cash, Grifter, who, we would learn, was one of many heroes and anti-heroes, primarily the Wildcats and the Authority, who traveled the multiverse and periodically visited our Earth. To aid in a long-term mission to free Warworld from the brutal tyranny of Mongol, Superman assembled some of these champions into his own authority. Steel, Natasha Irons. Umak 2, Apollo. Manchester Black, Midnighter, Enchantress, Light Ray, Leah Nelson. With Superman off-world, John Kent finally stepped into his generational role as Earth's second Superman. More defenders arose worldwide. Levi Kame, a young scientist from India, was chosen by the Green to succeed Alec Holland as the new Swamp Thing. Yara Flor, an Amazon born of the Escacita tribe, debuted as the latest Wonder Girl. Marcus Shugel Shen discovered he was a clone of a magical mythological being and embarked on a heroic career as the Monkey Prince. Jay Nakamura, a Gamorrean refugee and activist, used his intangibility under the codename Gossamer, befriending and romancing John Kent. Nubia rose to the throne of Themyscira. And Nia Na used the precognitive power she inherited from her mother to champion peace as Dreamer. Hera, still tormented by his role in unleashing the Anti-Monitor to spark the first Great Crisis, returned alongside a primordial force of evil called the Great Darkness, which would reduce all to oblivion. Hera's goal was to revive the pre-crisis multiverse. To that end, he captured and drew power from the Justice League, leaving the legacy heroes to fight in their absence. Nightwing, John Kent, Wally West, and others did battle with the Great Darkness's Dark Army, Darkseid, Doomsday, Necron, and other world beaters. In the end, victory hinged on an all-out rematch between Nightwing and the all-powerful Deathstroke. The fallout from victory was threefold. First, we learned that the new multiverse was now on infinite omniverse, no longer centered around our Earth. We were in balance with a perplexing Elseworld about which little is yet known. Second, after fighting side by side with those who were once our sidekicks, the League disbanded in hopes of defining its overall mission. It was abundantly evident that the Titans were more than capable of becoming the world's premier super team. Lastly, in the absence of the Justice League, Amanda Waller felt free to plan a long-game gambit for absolute power. While Waller's plan was brewing, the devil Neza, an ancient demon once imprisoned by Superman and Batman, ran rampant, causing the regenerative Lazarus pits used by Ra's al Ghul to volcanically erupt, which showered the earth with magic that took enormous effort to contain. Then, while we were all distracted, Waller set her endgame in motion. As a result of a battle with the Necrostar, Beast Boy's genetic code permeated the atmosphere, temporarily transforming humans into fierce animals, which I'm sure Batman had a fun time with. Waller capitalized on the resultant distrust of superheroes, blanketing the world with deepfake videos of heroes run amok and claiming only she could contain us. Teamed with Failsafe, a powerful robot armed with Batman's intellect, and Brainiac Queen, a super intelligent android, she very nearly eradicated us. That near miss convinced us we needed a Justice League more formidable than ever, one that truly felt unlimited. Accordingly, every hero on Earth was offered membership in a league operating from its new Watchtower satellite. Immediately, Darkseid struck, infused with the Spectre's power, and mightier than ever. His defeat left an Omega energy rift in space-time and secretly bound him to the Elseworld. To what ultimate end, we do not know yet, though I suspect we will soon. The resurgence of the League heralded a new era, and some new looks. Batman updated his appearance following a clash with Hush that reshaped the entire Bat family. Lois Lane, for a time, became a Superwoman, and Superman was granted the ability to trade hours worth of his powers in exchange for brief invulnerability to kryptonite. The Green Lantern Corps began to rebuild their ranks, finally free from the recent tyrannical control of Theros and his corruption of the United Planets. Aquaman added hydrokinesis to his array of powers, while Wonder Woman, reeling from the death of her sweetheart Steve Trevor, welcomed a daughter carved from clay, Elizabeth Lizzie, in honor of their love. Booster Gold, who had left Earth to investigate the Elseworld, was captured and tortured by the Dark Legion before being rescued by Superman. And Darkseid reappeared in his most unbeatable form yet, King Omega. As of this writing, all we know is that Earth's heroes will face their greatest struggle if they are to defeat him. That brings us to now. Tomorrow, of course, remains unforeseen. I'm joking. Having traveled extensively in time, I've seen all sorts of tomorrows. Yes, despite every effort to put it right, our timeline still ripples on occasion, but there will always be constants. Great disasters, long eras of peace, fearful futures, futures utopian. Supervillains, superheroes who carry on our legacy. Not just a few, but an entire legion. The light of the future Justice Leagues and the shadows of the Doomsday haunting the last moments of the universe. And so much more. That is the world to come. I take great comfort, and sometimes, when appropriate, pride in the glories I have witnessed in my career. As long as heroes have existed, the champions of Earth, of the cosmos, have fought for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. I have seen them pushed to their limits, purged by cosmic forces, assailed by gods, and yet they continue to protect the innocent and the helpless while never posturing as superior to those they care for. They remain aware that in this volatile world, every life is sacred, for even the youngest of children can make a single choice that can change everything for us. The omniverse is infinite. Too much of it, sadly, is unbearably dark and cynical, overrun with powerful beings who are incapable of selflessness. Here, though, as the saying goes, history is written by the winners. And now we have officially reached the end of the new history of the DC Universe. I can't thank you enough for watching, and I'm about to get into some of the comments to clear up whatever I got wrong and touch on anything else I may have missed. And some shout outs to the beautiful creatures whom left comments, compliments, and are a part of my loony community. And soon I will drop a video with all 4 parts stitched together without an intro or outro, so you can just get a straightforward narration or story without all the fluff. So in the previous videos I complained about no Scarecrow. Well, here he is. Yay. Shout out to Dialect1 for making me realize I need to actually try harder to properly pronounce words in a nice supportive way. Also, I know it's Derelict1, I just thought you'd appreciate the mess up. Benjamin Kellogg made me aware of the different universes DC acquired, Charlton, Milestone, and Quality, which I've heard of, but I never knew the complicated history behind them and DC. Jason Steck, thank you for the love. Brennan Scott and Universe Chronology pointed out that the Wildstorm characters didn't appear yet. Well, no worries, a few of their characters like Apollo and the Authority are in Volume 4, and they also fit pretty well into the timeline. Shout out to Stro Zombie and Champ Sandos. They're the first to point out the fact that I use Hanna-Barbera characters in my thumbnails. It is a joke. It's a funny joke. O Vega KT 6 ounce. Your compliment really got me smiling. Thank you so much for the love. Six Flags Shows Past made me aware of how slow I talked, so I worked on it. When I listen to part 1, I can totally hear it, so thank you for helping my video quality. I will say though, I am tired almost all the time. I work construction Monday through Friday, sometimes over 10 hours a day, and I'm a dad with a 2-year-old who I spend every free minute I have with unless she's sleeping, hence why most of my videos are uploaded after midnight. So that's kind of why like my voice sounds a little different in probably every single video. Just like different degrees of tired. But thank y'all for sticking through it, because I know the first video I talked really slow. I had an issue with the OG Dr. Light not appearing in the book before the new Dr. Light was brought in, but the beautiful Universe Chronology pointed out that he appears in the timeline pages that appear at the end of every book. Should I add those pages into the compilation video for any missing context and more content? But I do stand by the fact they should have at least dropped a little bit of lore or like a mention of the original Dr. Light, which they do later on, but it would have been nice to have like, hey, Dr. Light blah 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 did this and died or whatever, so now we have a new Dr. Light. But you know, that's such a little grievance. They had so much stuff they had to put into 4 volumes, and I think they did a pretty good job, honestly. David Jeffrey gave 2 valid points. The one I want to thank him for though is correcting my pronunciation of corpse when it's core. I have no clue why I kept saying corpse when I like know that it's actually pronounced core. Like I think my brain just has this inconsistency thing. Sometimes I pronounce Ra's al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul, because I'm not entirely sure which one is the actual correct way to say it. Spider Hamilton clarified in the last issue Cyborg was confirmed not to be a founding member, but joined the first battle against Darkseid. And he was completely right when he brought up the Wildstorm, Justice Alliance, and Justice Society Dark would be appearing after Flashpoint. And he also made me realize Cyborg was not an OG founder of the Teen Titans. He was brought in when DC revived the Teen Titans in the 80s. And shout out to Melvin Sherman for missing New Earth. But I really do want to shout out Brennan Scott, Universe Chronology, and Vega 6 ounce for the constant support and love you leave in my comments, 2 of which have given me permission to reach out for any questions or concerns I might have about like comic book topics and probably specifically DC topics. You guys, along with the other members of my community, makes me want to keep going and making videos. So thank you so much, everyone. This has been a fun hobby, and with this kind of community, I can foresee myself making hundreds more videos. So you've reached the official end, and that's all, folks.